Hi, my name's Emma Ward. Welcome to the studio. Come on in. So this is my studio space and I've been here for just 12 months. My husband and I actually renovated our double garage and turned it into my beautiful studio. So this is a wonderful space for me. We built it with plenty of storage and lots of benching, so I have lots of room to work and obviously keep all my art supplies. Because I work in different mediums, I also needed plenty of space and a sink and lots of table room. So because I've had a little bit of extra time at home lately, I've been having a bit of an experiment in making my own watercolours. So I've collected some local rocks and I've ground my own pigment, which turns into a beautiful fine dust. And basically I'm going to put that on my marble slab. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this gum arabic to it. So this is just basically dirt. Really nice dirt, colourful dirt. And I'm going to add some gum arabic. It's a little bit like cooking. If you're used to making bread at home, this probably looks similar but in miniature form. So then I take my little palette knife and I start working it together. So I think I'm going to need a little bit more liquid. It's a lovely process because it really puts you in touch with the paint that you're using. So once I've got it to a liquid, then I'm going to take this rock. Now normally some people use a glass instrument for this, but I'm just going to use a rock. Getting in touch with my prehistoric roots here, I think. Okay, so now that we've got something that's starting to look like a beautiful ochre coloured paint, and then I'm going to gather that up. And I'm using a shell rather than a plastic container. I'm just going to pop that in my little vessel. And that essentially is my watercolour paint. Now I can let that dry and I can begin to use it more or less straight away. So there we go, making your own pigment. This is the natural palette made from the local stone, and these are colours straight from the tube, even though some of them are made from natural stones as well. The same process goes into making all watercolour paints. So my latest collection of paintings that I've recently been working on are inspired by the Banyan figs at the Rockhampton Botanical Gardens. And again, I've used lots of natural pigments in these paintings. I've used walnut oil, I've used gold pigment, and that was to create the surface, the background surface. And then over the top of that, I've actually used a vintage quill and drawn the shapes of the trees. And they're just such an organic tree. They're just so beautiful and strong, and they really all have their own personalities. But I actually started experimenting with a few different materials. One of those is walnut oil, which actually comes to you in a packet, which you add water to, which creates a beautiful brown stain ink. And so some of the other things, particularly with drawing, I used a very faithful stick and a vintage quill. And I found that the quill worked so much better because obviously I can use the walnut ink as a fluid, and I could also work with watercolours in the quill as well, and it gives me a nice, beautiful, fine line. And to top it all off, I used some gold dust. And so it gives a beautiful variation of a tree landscape. That's a little bit unique, it's a little bit whimsical, and I think it's very sort of calming and nurturing, and that's exactly the feeling that I wanted for this collection. Thanks so much for visiting my studio today. I've had a lot of fun showing you around. Hopefully you'll hear more about me in the future as I continue to experiment with my watercolour and acrylic painting. I'm hoping to have another solo show in the not too distant future, and enter a few more competitions and hopefully share my work a bit further around Australia. So thanks again for coming to visit. I hope you enjoyed it, and you're welcome back anytime.